Mr. Godrej, are you concerned that if things continue to stay the way they are, if the government keeps saying that yes, we will push reforms through, but then coming up with excuses like we don't have the numbers, Greece is to blame, allies are not with us, do you think there's a real threat that all the gains of the last 20 odd years, Mr. Godrej, could be lost because of the government's inaction?
Rahul, first of all, I don't believe we are anywhere near the situation in 1991. The situation is bad, but it can be rectified quite easily. I think, as you rightly put it, we must get the reform process moving. There are two kinds of reforms. One, that the government can implement on their own. Those, to my mind, should be brought into place as early as possible. There are others which need parliamentary approval, like the GST, for example. There, I would suggest that both the opposition and government, as they have expressed in this debate today, tries to meet halfway and have an agenda to get some of these important legislations completed, done at an early date. To my mind, the most important of the reforms is the passage of the Goods and Services Tax Act, because immediately that is implemented, it would add about 2 percentage points to India's GDP growth, and the other reforms could then follow. So I would strongly urge both the government and the opposition to cooperate, but the government also to move rapidly, quickly on some of the reforms they can do within the government itself and do not need parliamentary approval.
The question, as Mr. Godrej says, is of will. Mr. Kumar, does the government have the will? It keeps saying that it does, but if it does, why can't it bite the bullet? Why can't it push ahead at least those reforms, as Mr. Godrej says, which do not necessarily require parliamentary approval, which don't require support from your opponents in the BJP?
Rahul, just don't keep saying inaction, lack of will all the time. I mean, don't keep passing a judgment. You are entitled to express a view so that we can rebut it. I am in agreement with the view that certain reforms that we needed to push earlier, we could not, because they required parliamentary support, which was not there. On executive decisions, when Parliament was in session, we said that in exercise of an executive decision, we made certain announcements with regard to retail trade. We were immediately up against a very determined opposition, and we thought that since we did not have an absolute mandate, we should try and carry people with us. This is the only democratic way. This is the only way how parliamentary democracies function. It may be a limitation on our ability to decide at a time of our choosing, but it is a reality we have to live with. Don't accuse us of recognizing a reality and trying to work within the limitations of that reality. You may as a citizen, like I do as a citizen, feel that we need to move forward. Certainly we are entitled to that view. But there's something like having the requisite ability to move forward on account of various factors. Having said that, take the decisions as I just recounted. The decisions to allow larger investments from abroad to flow in through foreign investors has been done. Take, for example, the decision not to reopen any of the tax cases, only to create a better sentiment amongst the people. Take the
but let me turn that argument on its head and ask you, Mr. Minister, why were those decisions taken in the first place? Now there is a deep sense of understanding in the government that by announcing retrospective taxation, we've killed investor sentiment, that foreign investors are fleeing with their money. But what does this indicate about a government that in the 21st century is prepared to take that sort of a decision? It's a singular decision which has completely killed the sentiment around the India story. Why did your government take that decision? What good is it now for you to say that we realized that we made a mistake?
Look, first of all, if you are referring to the Vodafone case, the announcement of the Finance Minister is not relatable to that. That decision was taken consciously in the full realization of the Finance Minister that this was a course open to him in law. Now, you may have two views about it. You are entitled to have a view. But the Finance Minister, one of the most seasoned ministers of this government, in his wisdom, took a particular view. Let us rest with that. The fact remains that a series of other steps have been taken by the Reserve Bank and the Finance Ministry to deepen bond markets, to have more financial sector reforms. I know we have to move quickly towards financial reforms, insurance reforms, pension reforms. We have to do that. And I'm telling you that we will, within the limitations of politics, do that. You'll see them sooner than later. But having said that, please see whether it is right under the circumstances to treat the glass as half empty or half full. I'd like to treat it as half full.